Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the broadcast. And this time around, it's all about the IELTS test. Joining us today is Dr. Tamer Victor. He is an IELTS expert with over 14 years of experience in his field. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Tamer.
Thank you very much for having me today.
So, I think to start off, let's start with the most obvious question ever. Why do people need to take the IELTS test?
I think, as you just said yourself, it's obvious because it's kind of test that's accepted all over the world, that it's a prerequisite in many English-speaking countries. The students, studying anywhere in an English-speaking country, for example, the United States, New Zealand, Australia, even Spain and Germany now, they are using it. So it's recognized worldwide. It's a prerequisite, even in immigration. If we take Canada, for example, your score in the IELTS is taken with an account of the points for the skilled workers programs and other programs as well. So I think it's needed all over the world.
All right, that's really great. And to help us just get an overview, could you just tell us what is the IELTS test?
Okay, let's think of it that way. Because usually, when we give sessions and talks about IELTS, I usually love to start with what IELTS stand for. Okay? So you have IELTS. Okay? So International English Language Testing. And for me, the most important is the S, which is a system. Okay? Why am I saying this? Why am I starting with this? Because an IELTS test is about score. You need to score. You're not learning English in the IELTS test, okay? You're scoring because it's kind of a placement test that tells you where you stand, where your language is. So it has a very specific system. If you understand the system, if you know the system, if you practice and trained to deal with the system, you will know how to score. Of course, your level of English is important. We're not saying that if you know the system and you don't have English, you will score. No.
Yeah.
But if you have English and if your English is very good and you're not very familiar with the system, you may not score. It's the other way around.
Okay.
So play by the rules. Know the system. Know how you will be scored. Know what the examiners do, what they look for, especially when it comes to speaking and writing, the productive skills. Okay, know what they expect. Know each descriptor has some kind of descriptions. This is what it says, it's called descriptor. So the description of each stage, each band, this is what we call it. Know what is expected in each band, work for it, play for it, and you can get it.
So it's kind of like a system where you have all the rules out there and you choose the band score that you are aiming for and you start following those rules. So let's take a deeper look at the IELTS test. So I know that we have 4 skills, correct?
That's all right.
All right, so can we just go over them a bit?
Okay, 4 skills, that's 4 tests.
Yes.
When we're looking at the 4 skills for any language, you're talking about listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Mm-hmm. 2 of them is what we call receptive skills. That's mainly listening and reading, where you receive information, you don't produce, you receive. Okay. The other 2 are productive skills in the sense that you produce language, whether you produce it in writing or you produce it in speaking. Okay. So each of the 4 is a separate test. Okay. And each of them, as we said a minute ago, has its own rules, has its own systems. Okay. So you need to know what to expect. You need to know what is expected from you, and then you act accordingly.
All right, so let's start with the listening part of the test. Mm-hmm. So how would you say the listening test is structured?
First, let's highlight something because this is very important. Of course, as everyone knows, there is general IELTS test and there is an academic IELTS test according to what you need it for. Okay. We have only one listening test for both of them.
Okay.
Okay, it's not different.
Okay.
Maybe in a later episode, when we get deeper in what the test contains, you may find, you know, like some of the topics there are academic, some of the topics are general, so it suits both.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about the structure. You have 30 minutes for the test. Talking about listening text. You have 30 minutes, you have 4 sections, each section has 10 questions.
Okay.
There's a very important, if we're talking about the system, there's a very important trick, something like kind of a concept more than a trick. Your aim is to answer the number of the questions in the time given to you. Meaning, and we'll be saying exactly the same thing when we talk about reading. It's not about whether I understand what's being said, I mean having an idea or having a point of view about what's being said or not. It's about solving the questions, getting the score. It's not about reflecting to what's being said. It's not about evaluating what's being said. It's about answering the 40 questions in 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So that's always one thing, because many of us, you know, like what we take in schools, we take comprehension, listening comprehension and reading comprehension, and sometimes we have all different kinds of questions and what do you think about the text. No, this is not the type of questions. This is not the type of task. This is not the system. The system is answering the questions in the given time. Accordingly, time will be your worst enemy. So your mission, your target, your challenge is to answer 30 questions in 40 minutes.
30 questions, 40 minutes.
I'm sorry, 40 questions in 30 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
40
so
questions
40
in 30
questions
minutes.
in 30 minutes.
40 questions, 4 sections. Each section has 10 questions.
Okay. Can I ask you, like, how, in your opinion, how would someone practice within that time frame? Because, like you just said, time is your worst enemy here.
That's so true.
So, like, what can they do to make sure, as they're practicing, that they are getting the required answers in the required time?
Okay, this might take us a bit for, you know, like talk about preparation. Maybe we would visit this section later at the end of the episode. But generally speaking, expose yourself to the type of texts, the type of listening tasks you may face in the IELTS exam as much as possible, and always time yourself. Okay, so as we will probably say later when we refer to the resources the IDP offers, you have, you know, like plenty of material.
It's true.
So always time yourself. Give yourself, you know, like expose yourself to the test and always have the timer on. See how many questions can you cover in the 30 minutes, as we said earlier.
All right. And let's talk about the accents.
Oh, that's
It's one of the most asked questions ever that we always get. And whether it's speaking or listening, like,
you're right.
Since we're talking about the listening part, so let's tackle it from that perspective. So is it true that they always get the listening part in a British accent?
No, it's a myth. It's not true. This doesn't happen. This doesn't exist. If we go back to, you know, like the first letter of the IELTS, it's international.
Yeah.
So it's not British, it's not American, it's not Australian, it's not New Zealand, it's not Canadian, it's international. So internationally speaking, you might be exposed to all these accents.
Okay.
So not just the British accent. No.
All right.
You may, that's why, I mean, like a minute ago, you were talking about practicing. Anyone who wants to practice for the IELTS, it's preferable to be exposed to the BBC, to the CNN, to the Canadian broadcast. I mean, listen to Canadian people speaking, British people speaking, American, New Zealand. Get, you know, like the kind, to familiarize yourself with all different kinds of accents, because you will have this kind of diversity, you will have this kind of variety in the test.
All right.
You will not stick to one accent. No, it's not right.
I mean, that's good to hear. So is there a difference in the difficulties between part 1 and part 4 of the listening test?
Yes, there is.
Okay, how so?
How so? I mean, earlier we said that it's one test for academic and general. So some of the you know, like the text, some of what you listen to is very general, and that's usually in the first part.
Okay.
So you may have a very casual conversation asking for address or asking for anything. But when it comes to part 4, that's the more academic part of it.
Okay.
So usually it's a kind of a lecture with or a piece of information with, you know, like academic, you know, expressions. And by academic, it's not, you know, not necessarily in a particular field, but in academia in general, or in an academic background in general. So usually part 4 is a bit, you know, like more tricky or more difficult. Okay. But since we're mentioning this, there is a very important question that usually test takers ask. How many times do we play the listening? Okay. The audio is only played once.
Oh, okay.
So this is why it's preferable, knowing the system, know that I will only play it once for you, that you read the questions well, make sure what to look for when you listen. Okay. So start with reading the questions first. Make sure, okay, I'm looking for, you know, like the answer for this question, or if they are asking about this or that. So read the questions first in order to be prepared to what you want out of the listening text.
And test takers will have enough time to go over the questions before playing the recording?
I think yes. Yes, okay. They are given some time.
All right, so they just skim through the questions so they know what they are looking for, and after that the audio clip is played, and then they start tackling the questions.
Because it will be played once.
Yes. Okay.
And it's another myth. If anyone tells you that you may play it more than once, this doesn't happen. It's only played once.
All right. So moving to the reading part.
Reading part, yes.
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 So can you just give us an overview of the test structure and whether or not there's a difference between the academic and general training content-wise?
Okay. Reading, just like what we said earlier, is a receptive skills, just like listening. But generally, you have 60 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And you have 3 sections.
Okay.
Okay. As we said earlier, it's very important to remember that the task is answering the questions. And not going through the text, you know, and having a taste of it and having a point of view. That would be an excellent exercise somewhere else. Yeah. But for the IELTS test, your task, your mission is to answer the 40 questions, 3 sections in 60 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So if we go a bit deeper into this, we have academic and we have the general training. They differ on the kind of texts, not the type of questions or the number of questions, but the type of text. The academic type of text is more academic in a sense.
Okay.
It might be, you know, like not necessarily scientific, but academic in a general text. It might be part of a textbook. It might be part, you know, of I don't know, a technical report of some kind. So it's academic.
Okay.
When we're talking about the general training, it's more of everyday language. Might be magazines, might be, you know, like more general topics.
All right, so you mentioned that the reading test is 60-minute long.
That's right.
And we have 3 passages. Mm-hmm. So like, in your point of view, what is the best way to just divide their time accordingly?
Don't divide it equally.
Okay.
Because they are not of equal level of difficulty. Okay. So it's not like 3 passages that I have 20 minutes, and 20 minutes now. The first, it might be the easiest. Okay. So try, for instance, give like something like, I don't know, 15 minutes for the first, 20 minutes for the second, 25 minutes for the third.
Okay.
Let's do the math. That makes 60, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So this is usually what.
But
we
like
do.
all passages have the same number of questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it depends on the level of easiness.
Difficulty.
Of difficulty.
One more thing. Most of the questions, not all of them, especially when it comes to the MCQ and gap filling, they work with the chronological order of the text.
Okay.
So it's what happens first is asked about first.
Oh, okay.
And this is exactly the same thing about listening. Sorry, we should have said that in the listening part, but it works the same way.
Okay.
Okay. Some other questions like the head for the paragraphs, the titles for the paragraphs, they don't work chronologically. But when it comes to, like true, false, or not given, or fill in the blanks or something, no, it works chronologically.
So, in your opinion, what is best when handling the reading test? So do we usually go over the question first, like we did in the listening, or do we go to the passage first and then we tackle the questions?
I would go for reading the questions first.
Okay.
In order, again, we're not reading the text to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. We want to answer the questions.
Yes.
Always remember, this is the target. That's our focus. So, yes, I would go for going through the questions first. When you go through the questions first, you would know what kind of information you're looking for in the text. This is what we call skimming and scanning. I don't want to get into details, but like when you go very quickly through the text looking for specific piece of information, maybe a date, maybe a name, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is. So again, I may learn, or I may practice, or I may train myself how to get a piece of information out of the text in the time given for me. And maybe I would get the piece of information, and if you ask me about the overall idea of the text, I won't be able to tell you.
Okay.
But I know how to, like dig into the text and
how to extract the information you need from the passage.
That's it. So skimming and scanning would lead. These are like reading strategies that we usually apply. I mean, going very quickly to know what the text is about, and then going, still quickly, not word by word reading, but now for specific information.
Okay.
You would need both. Of course, when I said like, okay, I cannot tell you what it's about, I'm talking about details. But of course, I need to know what the text is about.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've covered the receptive part of the test, let's move on to the productive type. So let's start with the IELTS writing. Now again, let's just go over the structure and if there's a difference between the academic and the general training.
There is a major difference.
Oh.
There is a major difference. This time there is a major difference.
Okay, how so?
How so? Okay. First, talk about the structure. You still have 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have two tasks, whether for the general training or for the academic.
Okay.
For the academic, the two tasks are, the first is data summarization, or whether you write kind of summary for certain type of data. This kind of data could be graphs, could be infographics, could be maps, diagrams of the sort, because again, this is academic part. And the second, for the academic, is some kind of essay. It might be an opinion essay, it might be argumentative, where you have different points of view and you take one side of the discussion or one point of view and you explore it and in details. On the other hand, if we're talking about the general training, the first is a kind of a letter. Mm-hmm. Okay, I may ask you to write a letter for a landlord, complaining about certain things. And the second is again kind of an essay, kind of a general or information essay.
Okay, all right. So how are they scored? Like, how is the test scored?
This brings us to the system.
Okay.
And this is why I'm bringing with me the band descriptors. I think we can display it.
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely.
Great. The band descriptors is the examiner's one and only guide throughout.
Okay.
Okay, which means that whatever is here in the band descriptor would be one way or another reflected, or the test take will be scored accordingly.
Okay.
Okay, so when we're talking about scoring, as an examiner, I look for 4 things.
Okay.
I look for task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy.
All right.
Let's take a minute or two talking about these. Task achievement is, like you have a rubric, you have a rubric, something you will write about, which is the task. How much of this task is achieved, how much you've covered of what they are asking for, makes a world of a difference in the score you get. Each of the 4 sections, the task achievement, the coherence and cohesion, the lexical resource, and the grammatical range and accuracy, would be scored out of 9.
All right.
According to the bands.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to go into so many details now, but in general, you have the task achievement, which is how much you've achieved of the task. You have the coherence and cohesion. To what extent is your writing coherent?
Okay.
Okay, not necessarily, because some candidates think that if I use many connectors, this would make it better.
Okay.
Not necessary. Sometimes it's too artificial. Sometimes you might. I wouldn't say you may be penalized, but it would sound totally artificial.
Okay.
So the coherence and cohesion we're talking about here is more of like the smooth transition from one idea to another. Okay. So again, we said task achievement, coherence and cohesion, and then the lexical resource or the vocabulary used. Some test takers think that the more complex and difficult and sophisticated words you're using, the better. That's not true.
That's a misconception.
It's kind of, yes, it is a misconception. Because if you're using, a very, chunky, sophisticated word, and you don't know how to use it.
So it may be a trap.
It's an inappropriate use of it. So it's not what the examiner will be looking for.
Okay.
But, for instance, it says here, if you look at the band descriptor, and if we're talking about the lexical resource between 6 and 7, 7 requires that there is some ability to use less common and or idiomatic items.
Okay.
This is the system that we need to know, that I need to learn to know idiomatic expressions relevant to the topic, relevant to the rubric that we are writing about, and using some idiomatic expressions would definitely help you move from band 6 to band 7.
Okay.
So, and we'll be saying exactly the same thing when we're talking about speaking. If I understand this, if I understand how I will be scored, I will be better prepared one way or another, aiming at the band I want. And finally, there is grammatical range and accuracy. This is a bit tricky because most of us with an ELT background, English language teaching background, or learning English as a foreign language, like many countries and regions in the world, we think of grammar as specific rules, and specific kind of exercises. So we always look for passive and active, direct and indirect, and all the school stuff.
Yeah.
So this is part of it. Yes, to be accurate, this is part of it. But to use a range of sentences and sentence structures, this is what we're talking about here. Not just accuracy, but grammatical range. So I use simple sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, using something like the conditionals, using like parenthetical sentences. This gives more weight to your answer. So knowing how you will be scored, understanding the band descriptor, applying it while writing gives you a very good chance to score.
All right. So actually, this kind of answers my next question, which is it really difficult or impossible to get a band score of 7 in the reading?
7 is 7. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, one of our master trainers once told us that 7 in IELTS, it's a 7. I wouldn't say it's easy. No, it's not a piece of cake.
Okay.
But it's not impossible. You need to have very, you know, like solid knowledge of the language and everything, and you need to understand the band descriptors. No, it's not impossible.
Okay.
Go through it. Go through each band. Know what is required. Know what the band you're aiming for requires. And with practice, I think it's achievable. It's not impossible, but it would need work.
Yeah, so it really just comes down to understanding the scoring system and knowing...
have a good language, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a given. Yes, but like it's very important to understand how it is scored, because
Yes.
like you mentioned, you could have a good English level, but you could still fall behind in the score-wise.
I have seen that. I have seen people with, you know, amazing language capabilities, but they didn't practice. They didn't know what is required, because in the task achievement, or if you're asked to write an overview and you don't know what an overview is, so your English is excellent, but you don't know what the overview is, so you don't include it in the appropriate place.
Yeah.
You get 6, you don't get 7.
Yeah.
If you know that this is required, you would easily get a 7 or 7.5. So just knowing, you know, like those bits, those tips, and they are there. I mean, it's easy to download the band descriptor from the IDP website, and you will know how you will be scored.
All right. So one of the questions we've been getting on social media a lot is, do templates actually work?
No.
Okay.
That's a fast answer, I know, but no. Because let me tell you this. If I'm an examiner, and, you know, like I go through hundreds of, you know, exams and papers, and I'm reading your answer, and you have 2 or 3 wonderfully written, sophisticated lines, and the very next line is in your own language.
Okay.
The difference between the two...
It shows.
Is not... Of course it shows.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course it shows. So, no, examiners notice this, and, you know, don't go for templates. Don't.
So, last but not least, let's talk about the speaking part of the test.
Definitely it's not least.
Definitely
it's not least.
Okay, so what are the parts of the speaking test?
We are looking at 3 parts.
Okay.
And by the way, the academic and the general training are the same.
Okay.
Just like when we were talking about the listening, they are the same for both. The speaking is the same for both. So it's the same structure.
All right.
We have 3 parts. First part is general introduction, where, you know, like I ask you very general questions about yourself. The second is a long, you know, like term speech, where you have some time to have an uninterrupted for around 2 minutes or something, up to speaking, uninterrupted speaking. And then the third part, we have, you know, like a kind of a follow-up for your long part, when, you know, like we take the topic that you discussed, you know, like into depth.
Okay.
Okay.
And in those 3 parts, like, how long does it take for the speaking test?
Somewhere between 11 and 14 minutes.
11, 14 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. And how would you say the speaking test is scored?
I would go for something almost similar to what we talked about in the writing.
Okay.
So again, if we look into the band descriptors again, we have 4 areas. We have fluency and coherence. We have the lexical resource, just like the writing. We have the grammatical range and accuracy, just like the writing. And of course, unlike the writing, we have the pronunciation.
Okay.
Okay. So what is required in each of them? And each one of them is, like scored out of 9. They are 9 bands, just like what we talked about in the writing. Fluency and coherence would be, kind of more or less the ability to keep on talking about the subject.
Okay.
Okay. Talking about it, relevant, like talking about it, moving from, one idea, smooth transition from one idea to the other. Lexical resource is the vocabulary you're using. The more idiomatic, the better. Templates, no templates. Memorizing things and just, walking into the room and throwing them,
It will not work.
Doesn't work. Just like what we talked about in the grammatical range and accuracy is applied here. So, the more fluent, the more naturally you speak, using idiomatic expressions, that's for the lexical part, using different sentence structures and stuff, that would give you, like better score.
They mainly, and by they I mean of course the examiners, they want to see how you express yourself.
Exactly.
And you have to do that through variation of whether sentence structures, vocabs, and just your general idea or flow of ideas.
That's absolutely correct.
And I know you've mentioned the last one is pronunciation. Now, we get asked this a lot, but do they have to speak in certain accent? Like, do they have to say in a British accent or maybe just an American accent or something like that?
Okay. So let me say something about pronunciation before we move into accent. Of course, this is a very valid and important question. First, when we're talking about pronunciation, we are talking about standard English, standard international English. Meaning what? Meaning, as an examiner, for instance, I don't care if you say dance or dance, class or class. Both are accepted, both are fine, both are standard. It's yes, standard British, standard American, both are accepted. But if I say I'm parking or I'm barking, that will make a difference.
Yeah, okay.
that will make a difference.
Definitely.
Because the meaning changed. The phoneme, the sound, if it changes, the meaning of the whole expression. If I say I'm parking the car, it's totally different from I'm barking. Okay?
Yeah.
That's different. So the mispronunciation of certain sounds, whether consonants or vowels, might take you down from 7 to 6. I would say this might be, from my point of view, the most difficult part in the whole IELTS exam. Because yes, I need to work a lot on myself. I mean, to improve as much as possible, to listen to English a lot and try to repeat. And of course, the kind of mispronunciation would differ from one culture to another according to your mother tongue. For instance, Arabs have, like problems pronouncing some sounds, and French people have problems in pronunciation some sounds. It's affected by your mother tongue. For instance, as Arabs, we might have the problem of the p and b.
Yeah.
Okay, or the th and s, the and z. When you're talking with the examiner, and examiners have, kind of trained ears now to, if you catch this, unfortunately, this brings you
a lower grade, yeah.
Talking about accents, There was a misconception, for instance, because this is Cambridge and this is British. So if you speak in British accent, you would get a better chance to have, you know, like a better score or something. This is another misconception. This is a myth. We're targeting international English, believe it or not. Some native speakers who might speak with strong accents would not score.
Oh, okay.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Because if someone speaks with a very strong accent, that prevents international comprehension. So again, this is an international test.
Okay.
We're targeting international English. English is an international language. So the main aim of English being an international language is to be a main means of communication, you know, like between people all over the world. So your English has to be understood. So any kind of accent, again, if we're talking about British accent, American accent, Australian accent, since it's easy understood, it's accepted.
Okay.
So examiners will not stop at class or class, because this is not a mispronunciation. Both are standard English, but of different dialects and accents.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So we started this conversation by why take the IELTS.
Yes,
so
we did.
let me just end the conversation by why take the IELTS with IDP?
So you wanted to start and end with a why.
Yeah.
Yes, and I agree. Why IDP? I can think of a couple of reasons why I would choose IDP. First, on the website there is the IELTS preparation hub, where it has self-assessment, it has preparation material for every skill, for every test, whether you're taking the academic or the general training. You have familiarization tests and sections where it helps you understand how you will be tested and how you will be scored. So this is definitely a big plus, because many test takers have problems finding suitable material and preparation thing. And talking about preparation, there are also paid preparation courses, but this of course depends on the region, and it might differ from one region to another, but the option is there. So you can always look and check the availability of these preparation courses. Another reason why I would choose IDP to take the test is the availability of dates. So you always have dates close to you, and the availability of testing centers and locations. So wherever you are, I think you might find something close to you. And this definitely, you know, depends on the region, but I think we're widespread.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. This
Thank
has
you.
been a very informative and such a great session.
It was a great pleasure.
It was really, really helpful, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thanks
right.
for your time. Thank you.